Today we're busting another myth about asexuality. This time we're looking at the misconception that everyone who identifies as asexual or as part of the asexual spectrum is that identity in direct response to trauma. Last night on my Discord server, I brought up an observation that I made over the years, where I mentioned that so often we see or hear about someone's sexual awakening, whether it be queer or not, being traced back to a specific moment. I can recall from my own high school days, I would hear people citing Taylor Lautner in the Twilight movies, or Megan Fox in the Transformer movies. It doesn't even necessarily need to be a person from a movie. It can be somebody that you know in one of your classes, or someone you see at work or on the street. Even in movies themselves, they put this quite frequently. I can recall a scene in the film adaptation Love, Simon, where Simon talks about having recurring dreams about Daniel Radcliffe, only to wake up staring at a Harry Potter poster in his bedroom. So you might be wondering, what does any of this have to do with asexuality and trauma? I've noticed that a lot of people seem to fixate on the idea that a moment can create you in your identity. Where this gets lost in translation is that our identities are really about following patterns, not necessarily one specific moment. And being that asexuality is about experiencing sexual attraction to no one, this can be a hard concept for allosexual folks or non-asexuals to understand. Sometimes I wonder if they're trying to equate a specific moment to us, and being that they can't imagine there being a specific moment involving one person in a positive way that made us like their moment did for them, they want to assume that then it's a negative moment or a negative interaction, a traumatic experience that made us who we are. They assign that then as our version of an awakening. Can trauma impact our identities? Yes. Trauma can impact our identities and who we become later in life. But that's not a given that because someone is asexual that they've experienced trauma. And that also doesn't give someone the right to ask about any sort of trauma that anyone, asexual or not, might have experienced, or to assume that someone has been through a traumatic experience. To make these kinds of assumptions about someone, to associate asexuality with trauma as a given, is to pathologize an entire valid orientation, of which an estimated 1% on the low end of the world's population identify with. There's still a great deal in the medical field that view asexuality as a disorder, and there's a tremendous amount of actual harm that could come to asexuals from this assumption. Some asexuals have been through traumatic events, some have not. To blanket the entire orientation as a response to trauma is very dangerous. It's not your business to ask, and it's not your business to assume. Please be careful when speaking with ACEs about their experiences. Don't make assumptions about what they've been through or what they haven't. We all have our own unique journeys and experiences. Let us be the ones to tell our story.